It loud. Oh, yeah.
We live. Hello, and welcome to Crossing Bridges Talk Show. I'm your host, Larry Montgomery Sr. This is my co-host, William. William, introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm William Montgomery. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, William is out in the field. Uh, what they say on site?
Yeah, got a family get together. I'm participating in.
Yeah, and so we're still trying to bring the show to you to make ourselves available. As William makes the announcement, um, please feel free to send your comments in. And if you'd like to be on the show live, make sure you send us your email link so we can send you the link. Okay, this week we want to talk about something that came to me this morning, matter of fact, uh, name calling. You say, wow, why would adult men be talking about name calling? Well, when you really think about it, you might realize that it is a big deal, and that fathers should make sure that they talk to their children about that, so they get a good understanding. Because one of the things that happens when we're introduced to name calling by way of either a very good friend or a bully, someone who wished they could be your friend. Okay. A good friend might call you, it's my boy, it's my partner here, and they may have a particular characteristic that they hang their hat on. This is my boy, big boy. He's a big guy. Now that doesn't mean that they're big, but they may be big, you know,
Hmm.
uh, or whatever they may come up with in love, and you understand that and you've accepted that. But then when somebody who, say a bully, comes up with oh, you big, you're a big guy, you fat.
Hmm.
Now that would be a problem for young children because they may have a weight problem, but it's not really a problem because right now you're young. You
Hmm.
just know that you're a little larger than everybody else, and it's not a big deal until somebody makes it a big deal, you know.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of psychological discussion out there about this and the impact that it would have on children. And we're going to talk a little more about that. But I want to give you, Will, an opportunity to chime in and what your thoughts or experience might be.
Yeah. Uh, Unfortunately, I've never been called a big person or a fat person. I've been blessed, but I can only imagine, being a young kid, that could be very damaging to your ego, especially if you come from a large family. You might be the smallest person in your family, and you think, well, I'm not fat. Everybody else in my family is looks like me. We're happy, we're fun loving, we're caring. Why are you gonna label me fat? Like it's a negative thing. I mean, if I'm fat, some people are pleasantly plump, you
Mm,
know, but the way you say things, can affect people emotionally and mentally. Like, wait a minute, you're saying I'm fat, like it's a negative thing. Like I got a problem or something, and then now they're sitting there feeling awkward about themselves, especially as a child. It's like, you know, they go down this rabbit hole of confusion because it's like, well, I look like everybody else in my family. So you're telling me that I'm fat and everybody else in my family's fat, and that's not healthy as far as emotionally and mentally, for a young person to have to process. It's like, hey, I'm just a kid, just trying to have fun.
yeah. And some names like I said, this is my big guy, my partner here, Shorty, what's up?
Yeah.
know? Now, on the one hand, it might not necessarily mean to the person who said it a big deal, just that
Hmm.
you might be shorter than them, or you
Hmm.
might be the shortest person in the household or shortest person in the classroom, whatever it might be. And so they call
Hmm.
you shorty. But, depending on how the child takes it, because not, first off, you got to understand that I don't have to accept what you call me.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
number one. But a lot of children don't understand that. They don't
Hmm.
have to accept that. There's a way to handle it. You know, If someone's doing it to get a particular reaction from you, your response either goes along with it or encourages it, or can just cut it off at the path. Hey, ugly, what's up? Say, I know I am, but what about you? And that might just cut them off at the pass. But then again, if they call you ugly in front of some other people, another person you may be trying to become friendly with, and they like look at them and say, oh, well, if the bully will call you ugly, then you must be ugly. So I don't want to be around you, So it can go in many different ways. And as a parent, we need to understand how to handle that. We can't just wave it off and say, oh, don't worry about it. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And that's a lie from the pit of hell. Because you call somebody a particular name, and depending on who you are, a bully is one person, a person who may have size on you or may be violent nature, and you're not that kind of a person. So yeah, you'd be concerned about them. But a teacher might call you that, a friend, or a stranger in the street might say something, call you a particular name, and how do I react? What should I do? Who is this person? Why they call me? And so at that age, as a child, teenager, whatever, you might not process that well. But now I want to get to the point of, well, that's nice, and we all should understand that because it's the right thing to do. But what about if you're an adult? And people call you a name? People who know you or people who don't know you, two different situations. People who don't know you, they call you a negative name, you got a problem with them. Yeah. And now the response is usually physical or verbal, and you go for it live and then live in color. That may not necessarily be the response that society says you should have, but sometimes your upbringing might give you that this is how we roll. You're going to call me a black nigga or something like that there, and you white from across the street, you sure enough going to get a beat down. And I will chase you home. Now, okay, so now what? But then, the other side of it, someone you care for, your girlfriend or whatever, gets mad at you and goes off and starts calling you all kinds of names. Now what? You're embarrassed first. Secondly, you may respond in that same, oh, this is how we roll attitude. Now she done took you someplace, whereas most people will say, well, sticks and stones can break your bones, but names will never hurt you. And say, yeah, well, when I find that one name that's going to hurt you, let me know how it feels when I start calling you. See, no, they don't think about that. Oh, but society says, this is how you're supposed to handle it. Well, that's nice. And when you really think about it, you probably would say, well, that probably is the best way to handle it. It's too late now because I wasn't thinking when you called me that. If you had warned me, I might have thought about it that way. But no, it's usually why they do it that way, to get a rise out of you, to get you off guard. But anyway, you say no one called you, had a nickname for you when you were young?
I had a nickname, but I'd rather not share it because, I mean, it's not that I'm embarrassed by it. It's just, for security reasons, they ask you for nicknames, for
for security reasons. Is that what you said? Are you frozen? I can't. You're not moving there. Well, let me keep going until he comes back in. Well, nicknames can be funny sometimes, and they can also be insulting. I can't tell you what. At one time, people would call me, and a lot of times it was like, one person has one name for you, another person has another name for you, type thing. And it gets confusing. So, well, who am I talking to today? and did they mean it negatively or did they mean it, in love or whatever? You got to go through all those dynamics before you respond. One of the things I want to point out is that, again, as an adult, okay, well, he's left, but I'm sure he'll be back if he gets a chance. As an adult, the name calling, and we say name calling because it was a deliberate act, but then they're all labeling. That's a whole different kind of a horse, but it's still a horse. Labeling people is tantamount to calling them a name. Oh, well, you're stupid. And every time you see me or you think about me, you call me stupid. Now, as a child, that might have one impact, but then as an adult, that has another impact, and there's no guarantee that it might not be a childish impact. You take away from a person when you label them, because now you pretty much planted in their head that you have some power over them and over society and the people that are surrounding them, to lead them to feel that what comes out of your mouth is the gospel. And 99.9 times out of 10, what comes out of your mouth is not the gospel. That's just a fact, because we're all sinners, born in sin and raised in inequity. So for you to think that it's okay to label someone else, you're wrong and you're dead wrong. Again and again, when grown folks, and we're talking in the household now, argue and start to label each other, you really don't know what kind of damage you're doing to someone. One thing comes right to mind is when a husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend are arguing, mom and dad are arguing over something, and one wants to bring up the past. Now, there's one thing about the past that's a fact. It's the past. Hopefully, we've learned from our errors and we are trying to do better. But when you keep bringing up the past, first off, that says you have not forgiven them if they've asked for forgiveness. And if they didn't ask for forgiveness, why would you think it's acceptable to carry around in the front of your head that this is the kind of person they are? You leave them alone and go somewhere else, find somebody else. But if you want to stay with them for whatever reason that works for you, then you have to understand that those things that are in the past, leave them in the past, because they're not going to be corrected. They're never going to be corrected. That's why they're in the past. Okay. And so you have to understand that even when you're arguing, is to be mindful of the words and the statements that you use, because they may just well come back to you. A lot of times, we feel that we're, so empowered that we can say whatever's on our mind, because first off, my excuse is, well, I love you, but you hurt me, you made me mad. I don't make you anything. You went there because you wanted, because I was trying to take you there and you went there. Okay, so now you're there. That doesn't justify my behavior. It doesn't justify yours or your response. Okay, two wrongs don't make a right. That's just how it works. That's what they call logic. Okay, but for those of us who find ourselves upset with someone, we need to kind of stop and think, well, where's the benefit going to be? Is there going to be a correction in this? If they've done something that was wrong and hurtful or whatever, how do we correct that so it doesn't happen again? You know, is it my job to train you or to punish you for what you've done, which you may have done, like you said, out of anger? You know, you were upset um, because of something that I did. Maybe I did it on purpose. That's one thing. Maybe I did it by accident. That's another thing. Maybe you misunderstood. That's a third thing. You see? And so now, which one of those three are you hanging your hat on to justify your response? Okay? If we think about it and we feel or we believe how right is right, you know, you could be right and the other person just doesn't either get it or want to get it. So what does that do for you? You can't get your reward because they didn't accept the fact that what you said was right. I don't think that's working out. You are right, and they have to accept it and have to make that change that you are demanding. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it don't work. So now what? You continue to be mad. You continue to justify. You continue to punish. You continue to remind them of that problem. And so I would think that there's clearly an opportunity for that person to think that no matter how right you are, I'm never going to allow you to think or let you understand that I've accepted the fact that you're right. You're not going to beat me into the ground just because you're right. Well, I'm right. Okay, fine. Let's move on. There's clearly something else happening in life in this particular situation. Well, how do we fix it? Well, how do we work with it? You know, those are the conversations that we might want to have, as opposed to I'm right and you need to say that I'm right. And then you need to do what I told you is right because I'm right. Yeah, it does sound foolish. Probably because it is. But we go on as adults. So again, back to labeling. You know, you call your boyfriend, oh, you're a cheater. You're a liar. Okay, they may have cheated. They may have lied. Wouldn't you really want to know why they did it? As opposed to continuing to press the point that they did do it. Because what they did is in the past. It's done. Can't be fixed. You might be able to work on something, but you sure enough can't fix it because it's done. So, me labeling you, does that mean that you can't label me? That's when we got going back and forth. You said this, I said this, you did this, I did that. You made me do this because you did that. Where's that going to get us? Well, the dance will continue to go on. As long as the music is playing, we'll continue to dance here. But if one of us says, okay, look, I'm not happy with what you did. I can't live with you anymore because of what you did. Now you said it. Now act on it. Then we don't have to worry about revisiting the fact that something happened in the past. And I got to keep bringing it up because I want to be the one to make you change. If they're over 20, the likelihood of them changing is really on them to make the change, not on you to make them make it. Most of the time, that doesn't work out. That's just how people are made. That's what happens. So anyway, we have, hasn't been a long show, 20 minutes. But I think that what we talked about, name calling and labeling, are two things that we as adult men, first off, we need to understand so we don't do it. And secondly, we need to be able to understand and to explain to our children that that's not necessarily a good thing. Doing it in love, as long as the other person understands it and accepts it, it's one thing. If they don't understand it or don't accept it, because again, you have to realize that you have, whatever your position may be, to the person that you're talking to, you have some influence. Otherwise, they wouldn't be talking to you. Right? Why would I listen to someone who I don't respect? Why would I listen to someone who has no control over me? Unless I want to. They have no impact on my life unless I allow them. And if I'm weak-minded or of the mind of I want you to have influence over my life, and they are saying something that is going to damage my life, why would I listen to you? Because if you do it now, you continue to do it later. It's like, the girlfriend and the married man. Oh, I'm going to leave my wife and we're going to be together. Question. If you leave your wife for me, what makes me think that you won't leave me for somebody else? Really? I mean, you got to ask yourself that. Oh, I'm going to leave my wife for you. And when's that going to happen? I got to wait for my tax return to come in first. Christmas, we got to make Christmas, so the kids will, my birthday. Yeah. Next year, this time. Yeah. Soon. You continue to accept that. If you think that you know this person and they're married to somebody else, but you know them, oh, they're not living together. They're separated. Well, he stays in the basement. She's in the bedroom. Your head screws on and off on how many occasions a day? A man will tell you whatever he thinks you'll accept so he can continue to get what he's been getting. Yeah. And then again, like I said, if he'll leave the one he's got, what makes you think he won't leave you? Oh, you're the best thing since sliced bread. It's probably why you're alone now, because you're the best thing. You ever thought about that? That's kind of what goes on in guys' heads. She all right. Let's get back to labeling and calling names, because that's where we started. Yeah. Calling people names. derogatory names or names about their character, you know, something about their physical appearance or their intellect. First off, is not going to help your situation, not going to help them become better. Oh, it's just trying to challenge them to work harder. Why don't you just ask them to work harder? Novel idea. Labeling them, oh, you're a liar. You're a cheater. You're no good. You're not worth it. Oh, you're just a user. You're a manipulator. You are, I know what I am, but what are you? You're a bully. You're a control freak. You have low self-esteem because you're trying to abuse me in order to validate yourself, as opposed to just, well, you made a mistake. You know, listen, try not to do that again, will you? It's not fun. It costs us money. Delays things. So now he clearly, or she clearly understands what they did was wrong and the impact of it. And it's now in the past. We've walked by that. Okay. Short show. Next week, God willing, and the creek don't rise, we'll be here. If you'd like to join us, make sure you send us an email so we can send you the link so you can join us online live. If you have a comment or a recommendation or criticism, feel free. You know, I do know how to delete. But then again, you may actually make a point. So anyway, thank you. God bless you. And good night.